Mine did.
Okay, now.
Yeah,
So
mine also did.
I'll cut yours later if I have to use it. Hopefully we can just use mine. And then this is going to be in there too. And then
Wait,
this
I
will
stopped
also.
recording.
And all
Should
of
I,
this.
should I start recording again? I just stopped.
Did you really?
Yeah, because I didn't. You told me to stop. I thought I should
Okay,
stop.
yes. You record as well now.
All right. Three, two,
Did you really?
one.
Wait, is yours recording? Oh man.
Yes. All right.
Here we go.
3, 2, 1.
Blessed with a championship prosperity, the likes of which we have never seen. Cursed by a past riddled with despair. This is Blursed.
Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Blursed, a podcast that looks into the blessed and the cursed of Atlanta sports. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, all of our listeners. My name is your host. I am Blake, your host. Sorry, I'm not. Sorry, it's my first time hosting. I was a little nervous.
Hey, good.
You call me Blizzy. Hey, Aaron, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well, I'm excited to get things going. Episode 3, we're rolling through it. We already canned Hayden as the host. He's out.
Wait, Hayden, you're not there anymore?
Yeah.
Hayden is here.
Oh, Hayden, he slipped back in. Oh my
I
goodness.
am overcoming an illness, and I don't want you all to succumb to my voice more than you have to.
Yeah.
So
we love your
other
voice.
than sexually, also, we always succumb to your voice in that
Mom,
way.
don't listen to that. Bleezy, I appreciate you taking over the host responsibilities.
Hey, you know who else we
appreciate
appreciate? We appreciate all the feedback and support we've gotten from our friends. We just
Absolutely.
want to huge shout out to all of you for just reaching out to us, showing us your love, and just giving us great feedback. Also, the listeners have been incredible so far. We love the interaction we've gotten. I've got a lot of good questions already sent in. So yeah, we appreciate that. Keep it coming. Before we start off tonight, though, everyone, I just wanted to pay homage to the great Matthew Berry. It was announced this week that he'll be leaving ESPN, which is probably a good thing for Matthew. I for one, don't use ESPN for fantasy football purposes.
No.
So it'd be nice. Maybe he goes like the Athletic or something like that. But yeah, how his job is just one of those jobs that I think everyone that, at least from our standpoint, would love to have. You just talk about fantasy football for a living.
Could you imagine?
That's all he does. It's a fantastic job. Even in the off season, what is he talking about? Fantasy football.
Fantasy football.
I mean, he's like one of the first to do it professionally too, which is
he
He's
paved
been
the
doing it
way.
for so long.
yeah, he kind of created a whole profession.
He did.
And so I just want to bring him up, and then bringing him up, I want to ask y'all: are you all more excited for the start of the NFL season or for our fantasy football draft?
I'll take the reins there. I'll go ahead and say honestly, while the listeners may not care as much unless they're in the league, I'm going to go with the fantasy football league. I had a terrible year last year. That's not me. That's not who I am. And so I'm excited to kind of get back to the winning ways.
I'm excited for us to be able to talk about our teams on the cast, and I think the listeners will care because they'll want to know who wins out of all of us. What about you, Hayden? What are you more excited about?
I'm more excited about the NFL season itself. My team was so bad last year that I stopped watching a lot, and that makes me very ill prepared for this upcoming season. So I got a lot of research to do. Luckily, I have a long drive set up for here in a couple weeks, so I'm going to be listening and binging to a ton of fantasy football content to get caught up and get in a good position right before the season starts.
Nice. I'm going to have to agree with Aaron that I'm actually only excited for the NFL because of fantasy football. I think it'd be a little different if I thought the Falcons were going to make a headway this year in the playoffs. I think if we make the playoffs just because of a wild card and because some other team just had a horrible line of luck. I don't think it's going to be because we make it ourselves. Right. So for that reason, I am more excited for fantasy football this year. I got second in our league last year, so it's time for me to get some revenge. Got to get first. And speaking of first place, Atlanta Braves have been playing the Mets recently, and
are in second place.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh God, you're right.
They are playing the Mets, who are in first place.
Who are in first?
And extended their lead on Monday, unfortunately.
Well, you know what I meant.
But hey, in the next 40 minutes, we're gonna get it underway to hopefully tie that series back up.
Yeah, it was a little bit disappointing on Monday. Max Fried didn't have his best stuff, unfortunately, which is crazy to say because he still pitched 5 innings and only gave up 2 runs. It just wasn't his best. And when you're facing a guy like Max Scherzer, if that person is on, if that guy is on, you're not gonna beat him.
No.
So like that's just how it is. And same thing with Max Fried. If he was on, you're probably not gonna beat him. So unfortunately, Max Fried wasn't on.
Right.
Scherzer was, and that's kind of how it went.
I feel like it would have been helpful if we had one of those like sweltering heat nights in Atlanta that we've been known for recently, but instead it was like a crisp 80, 70 degrees outside.
Was this Scherzer's first start back or his second start back from injury?
I think it's his second.
It was his second.
He got loose last week one time, and then
boom,
he was just ready.
I will say though,
psycho self.
He's not been good against the Braves.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I mean, it's more the lineup, not
for sure.
Its thing. Some weird bullpen choices which have plagued the Braves, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later, and how and when to actually be upset about what Snitker's doing with the bullpen.
It's so hard. It's so hard because, like, here's the thing: we did this last year too. We talked about this throughout the season about how he's mishandling the bullpen, but then you get the playoffs, and you can't say anything bad about what he did to the bullpen the entire playoffs into the World Series win.
Well, yeah, but although he decided in the playoffs, like, okay, I'm only gonna pitch four of these guys, no matter what.
True, and maybe he's saving arm strength for the playoffs again.
Could be. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, speaking of arm strength, that's one thing that's been trending around lately is how far we're gonna let Spencer Strider go this season. So obviously, he started the year in the bullpen. And he was lights out, and everybody's clamoring for him to join the rotation because the 5th spot was so spotty. And he finally did. Things have been going super well. The Braves started winning when he was on the mound. And so now he's up to 60-something innings pitched.
I think the most innings he's pitched in a season, 90?
90.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you start to think, you start to do the math on it a little bit, and it's getting a little hairy, so there's some opinions out there about how maybe they move him back to the pen. Maybe we make an acquisition at the trade deadline and try to bring in another starting pitcher to lengthen out our rotation as we get into the late part of the year to keep Strider fresh for the playoffs.
Might I say, by the way, just a bit off topic, but still Spencer Strider. And, we don't objectify anyone here on this podcast, but I would like to point out that man has some phenomenal legs. I mean, and the pirouette he does after a strikeout, it's just aesthetically pleasing to watch him pitch.
I think I'm
sure he has a great personality too, Aaron.
Yeah, so like I said, we're not objectifying anyone.
You're just admiring a man on the mound. There's nothing wrong with that.
I was just one man appreciating another man's body. I don't think
he also pulls off the mustache really well.
Oh gosh, he does.
And I appreciate that he's a vegan.
There we go. Yeah, just a stand-up guy.
There's a lot going on with this guy, and I like it. I like the cut of his jib.
But I like what you said there, though. When getting back to the innings pitch, I think it's a good point to bring up because I think a lot of us fans are going to be disappointed when inevitably we will shut him down for the year. I think you're right. I think kind of like what you saw the Nationals do with Strasburg. I know we saw that for years. We watched them shut down Strasburg. It seemed like early, and they got a World Series out of it.
Eventually, so I don't.
It did take a while.
I don't know that we'll shut him down, and I don't know if he's the kind of guy that would let that happen either.
No,
it may be It'll just be further in between when we actually get to see him. So we'll just see how the year goes along, and it probably is going to have a lot to do with where we are in the standings, where we are in the wild card, if that's still in play. Hopefully, we're just in first place.
So who's been better, Strider or Michael Harris?
Ooh. That's
a larger sample size for Strider, certainly.
It's so hard to compare. But I always will side with the guy that plays every day.
For sure.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with the starting pitcher. That's their job, is to go out 1 out of every 5 games. But he's just doing it every day, and he's had some really clutch home runs lately too. He went to the second deck of the Chop House, which that's always fun to see, but usually it's from Freddie Freeman. I don't even know. Maybe Matt Olson's gotten one up there, but yeah, the kid is unreal. What do you guys think?
Aaron, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm probably going to – I wouldn't I would like to say Strider, especially based off everything I just said. But yeah, I think Hayden makes a great point with the everyday player. I think Michael Harris has come in. He's just, and also look at, I think there's another stat. And like I said, I get he's been here less, been up in the bigs less than Strider has. But look at the Braves record since he's been
Yeah, no,
a
that's
starter.
for
I
sure.
think
That
I think they've only lost like 6 games or something like that. 6 or 7 games in the
Michael
time frame.
Harris.
Yeah, since he's been up.
I think it's more. I think it's more than 6. But you're 100% right. Like he's been a big reason we've.
I think it's close. I think they lost the first game he got called up, and then they went on their run.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's one thing that's awesome about Michael Harris. The way he plays defense, and center field is a key position in baseball, along with shortstop. Just right up the middle, you want your strongest athletes. And so what he brought to the table, we got a natural center fielder and speed. And those are two things that do not slump. Hitting is going to be all over the place. That's the name of the game.
Right.
But speed does not go in a slump. Defense does not go in a slump. If you're good, you're good. And him coming into that outfield and moving Duvall out of center field has made us from one of the weakest defenses to one of the strongest in the outfield.
Oh, I agree. I also think, like, to me, what would it take for Strider to even beat him for Rookie of the Year? I think he would have to go on and win, like, you had to win between 10, 15 games, probably closer to 15 games in order to beat Money Mike. That's how good of a season he's having, though. Like, if Money Mike wasn't playing this season, I think Strider's probably the runaway right now, Rookie of the Year, or at least in the conversations for it. And if vice versa, like, I just think they're both incredible players. I think Michael Harris has to be in the driver's seat right now for a couple things y'all said. One, that the team success since he's been on, like, that I think is more compared to a team, especially on a team like the Braves, who have such depth and such. We just won the World Series, and he's to be able to, as a rookie, to come on and make that big of an impact is just kind of incredible.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of stats out there, or a lot of people are saying that he may win a Gold Glove this year, which is nuts because he came in so late. But like, they usually it's just based on putouts and stuff like that, assists.
Right.
But now with that advanced metrics, you can look at like what's an abnormal range on a guy, like what is going to drop for 90% of guys, and then the one or the other 10% is actually going to make the catch. And he's making so many outstanding catches that are above average that he might actually still win the Gold Glove. So that's pretty nuts.
Maybe his glove will win us a game tonight. And his bat. Hopefully a little bit both.
We can hope, but unfortunately, he came on to the scene a little bit too late to make the All-Star team. If he had a little bit more time, we may have seen him out there. But the All-Star selections were announced this past weekend. For the Braves, we have Max Fried, Ronald Acuna, Dansby Swanson, Travis d'Arnaud, and William Contreras. They all have been selected. Acuna and Contreras are actually going to be in the starting lineup, which is exciting. I think this is the most players that the Braves have had selected since 2011. We had 4 players.
And it's 5 this year, right?
Yeah, so 5 this year.
Wow.
I think 2011 was like Craig Kimbrell, McCann, Jair Jurgens, who didn't turn it into much. But
I forgot about Jair Jurgens.
Mr. Curacao, I believe.
Yeah,
that's where he was from.
That's the Braves' hot spot. But
yeah, it is.
It's a little bit surprising with Acuna's stats for this season that he was actually selected to start, but I think he just I think everybody just likes him around the league, and as well as Braves fans, but people want to watch him play. Maybe it's more of like making up for last season, him getting hurt.
I agree. I think we kind of got into this last week, where I think I'm starting to realize why, as a fan, I might not have been the biggest fan of Bryce Harper over the years. I think it's because sometimes he would have seasons kind of like Acuna is this year, where I'm like, why is he even in the All-Star consideration when there's all these other guys better? And it's that name recognition. It's that
people
pedigree.
Are dumb. There's also that.
You're right, and the fan vote goes into this, but there's that pedigree you get once you've reached a certain, I guess, stratosphere when it comes to fandom and sports. And Acuna's made it. I mean, he is one of the most popular people in all of baseball, which is incredible to say.
I think it has to do with that sweet, sweet swing. Like, he's got the Ken Griffey swing almost. Like, and you don't see that from a righty that often because it just seems a little bit more jerky. But like when there's a lefty with a sweet swing like Ken Griffey Jr., like you can just tell. and he's got that from the right side. And just the way he comes through the plate is just a thing of beauty, and you have to watch every time he's up there. Even when he swings and misses, it's fun to watch. You're just like, oh my god, this guy is generating so much power.
It is.
I would really like to see him start to hit the ball more, like his normal self, because I really like that will be when the Braves take off and I think start leading our division for sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Ronnie too, is like when he's going, the rest of the team doesn't have to almost.
No,
and
it's crazy.
The first half of last season is because he was the only one going, and he kept us alive until he got injured.
Yes.
To be able to even make moves at the deadline. So I will say about his stats though, somewhat interesting. He's only played 54 games this season. Most everybody else in consideration for the outfield positions is up into the high 70s or low 80s. He's even though he's played like 20 to 30 less games, he's still like in the top 10 of WAR. So that's just him like making an impact in such a small sample. But I mean, a lot of his base running stuff, he plays solid defense, and he did have a good run earlier this season. It's just more recency bias of he's been in a pretty bad slump lately, but he's a stud for a reason.
For sure. I can't believe his WAR is that high, actually. What is it, 1.6?
Yeah, he's at 1.6, so, I mean, it's incredible how high that is, actually, for the rest of the people on that list. Like, so, for example, he's tied with Sterling Marte, who's played literally 20 more games than he has.
Yeah, and it also shows that even in a year where he's what, batting 273 or something like that, he's not around his career averages. He's kind of been in that slump, and he's still able to reach that high of a WAR. So I don't know, his talent is just scary. I mean, he is the next like Mike Trout of this like baseball generation.
All of us Braves fans hope so, at least. So
hey, while we're here, let me bring up something real quick that Hayden, we had talked about the fact that we might have perhaps the first time ever that two catchers from the same team made the All-Star game. But I was looking at it right here, just in the little graphic you've got about the All-Star position leaders. And if that doesn't happen, it's crazy that we're going to have brothers as two catchers in an All-Star game, which I just didn't. Yeah, with old Wilson and William. I didn't realize. I mean, I knew Wilson Contreras was doing well for the Cubs. I did not realize he was the leading vote getter at catcher.
I actually went back through and looked at a lot of All-Star teams in the past, at least who had started at DH.
Yeah.
I don't think it had ever been a catcher.
Really?
Crazy.
At least on the NL side, which you
Yeah.
got to consider.
That makes sense.
NL used
more
to not
sense.
have a DH, and so when they would play, which is crazy that in an All-Star game they would still make the pitchers hit. I mean, I guess they would probably pinch hit them, but like technically they were in the lineup.
Right.
When it was played at an NL stadium. But yeah, it's pretty awesome that they're able to play together. It's crazy that d'Arnaud and Contreras, or William Contreras, are both on the All-Star team. So we're pretty set at our catcher position.
Yes,
we're very fortunate because that's not typically a very good hitting position. You really just want good defense out of them. So anything they give is a plus.
That's pretty awesome. It'll be the first time. Sorry, I just wanted to cut in. So,
no, you're good.
Per Jeff Passan here, they'll be the first brothers to start on the same All-Star team since Roberto and Sandy Alomar in 1992.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
awesome.
That's crazy.
It's like you said, that the double cool part is we have two catchers, but we also have the brother thing too. So it's like it's like a two for first.
It absolutely.
Also, something else cool is not former Hawks legend. I want to say Hawks legend because of losing Kayvon, but former Braves legend Jock Peterson actually also made the All-Star team. I know he's actually having a pretty good year out there for the Giants, but also you have to think that Pearl's popularity had to get him a little swing votes for sure.
Well, I think a lot of that.
The Braves Nation got him in there. Yeah,
yes,
that's awesome.
Absolutely.
I mean, the Giants. He's having a great year, and like he no doubt deserved it. But yeah, like I think I'm glad that the Braves fans helped him out there. He's a fan favorite, and like the Giants have been struggling of late too, in such a way that it looks like they're not going to be able to compete for the division. There is the expanded playoffs this year, so they have a chance to get in that way. If they start falling more, watch out.
They should trade us Jock again.
Yeah, maybe we bring back Jock. Just get the clubhouse right.
Hey, Hayden, run down the playoff expansion real quick.
I don't think I can.
I don't think I can.
I could say. I can see what I find real quick.
While you're doing that,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say,
I'm not sure I can.
it's funny to me that, not funny, sorry, that was just funny. It's sad to me that Austin Riley got kind of gypped on the third base, like not making the All-Star team.
Yeah.
But if you look at the third base, the people that beat him out, which is Nolan Arenado and Manny Machado, are both having like crazy years too. So he just is in the hardest position to compete. I kind of like how Tipper was back when he was our all-star third baseman for years. So it's just such a hard position. I feel like some of the best batters in all baseball always come from that spot.
Yeah,
Right.
if you look at the breakdown, it's like those two, Machado and who did you say, Arenado?
Yeah.
So they both are like on a tier of their own. They're like as far as WAR goes, and then it goes Riley right after that, and then there's a whole nother tier break. So
wow,
he's closing in, but we'll see if he can make that leap over the next couple years. But he's playing so well.
Did you find out anything about the expanded playoff?
Yes. Let's see.
Roll it on.
So yeah, I think it's just an additional wild card team. That's what it looks like. So
Okay, so it's just the 2 wild card teams now.
3.
Okay, that's what it is. I was about to say I thought we already had 2. Okay, so there's a third wild card team. All right, I didn't realize that.
Yes, and there's
That's
more
for the folks at
emphasis
home.
on getting. That's
Yes.
Definitely
Yeah.
we knew that.
Yeah, we all
Yeah.
three realized that.
We aren't googling right
that's
now.
for you guys. Just if any of you didn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, sweet.
Awesome.
But, yeah, let's see what anything else happened. There's a couple of trades. We got Robinson Cano, which was kind of interesting. The Mets are paying him $20 million this year, and we are paying him the league minimum. So it's kind of interesting. It's a shot in the dark, but
it was
we'll
dirty by AA picking him up and starting him on the first game against the Mets.
First day,
yes.
you like hopped off the plane. All right,
I love it too, but it was dirty.
He probably had the best day of anybody hitting
base.
for the Braves too yesterday.
Yeah,
He did. I thought we were going to win based on him. Like I thought he was going to be
until Riley didn't he go 2 for 3?
Yeah, he also hit one hard.
Yeah,
hit a bomb.
Riley hit a homer. But
Dansby let us down last night. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was it? We had second and third with 2 outs.
Yeah,
and it was
their third baseman made a great play too, stopping that ball from going down the line. Like
he did.
Zooming the corner. I think we would at least scored 1 run.
Speaking of, Austin had a great play last night. Where that one where he jumped. Did y'all see that one?
He had 2 great plays last night.
Yes.
I think we have defensively one of the best teams in all baseball.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
infield, outfield.
Especially when we got Ozzy out there too. But
Mm-hmm.
last thing of note before we move on from the Braves, Drew Waters got traded, which he was kind of our big outfield prospect for the last couple of years. It was him and Pache. And then so it was Pache first we brought up and tried out, and then that didn't work out, and then we shipped him off. And then now he just got completely overpassed by Michael Harris Jr. And it's nothing against him, but it looks like outfield is filled up.
That's feel good for Michael Harris though. Like he passes him, goes past AAA straight to MLB. Then only that, then they ship him off somewhere else for something that's like never done in baseball. Like hardly ever do people trade for a specific pick in baseball. Yeah. So it's clearly just trying to get assets for the future.
I think you actually can't do that on normal draft picks, but it's like a compensatory pick or something like that. But anyways, yeah, like we just got like a draft pick for him and then bonus slot money.
Yeah,
so
$2 million.
Yeah, it's like that's the money that you use to actually sign the players.
Your rookies.
So there's some theories going around out there that it could be Kumar Rocker that we're gonna try to get, who was the guy. He was picked, I think, number 2 overall by the Mets last year and wouldn't sign the contract and like do the physical. So that would be another layer. But I'll just leave you guys with that. We can move on to our next seg if you guys want.
All right, yeah. So
good days over in Atlanta Unitedville.
Yeah, my blood pressure just skyrocketed in that transition between segments. I'll be honest, folks, there's not a lot of stuff to say that hasn't already been said by us here on Blursed and by just about.
Why is that, Aaron? What happened? What happened over this past weekend?
Okay, so thank you, Blake. Thank you for railroading me. I was just going to go down this long tangent of hate, but we're we're not
railroad you
gonna.
anytime, buddy.
Yes. Oh God, yes. All right. Anyway, so yeah, we're not gonna recap the game that happened over the weekend. I'll leave it at this. We played Austin FC. We talked about them a little bit at the end of the last pod. Great up and coming team. It was an exciting matchup, a great time for us to, because while we had that disappointing road trip in Toronto and New York the week before, there were some positive signs. Well, fast forward a bit to the Austin FC match, and there were no positive signs. There were not anything, there wasn't anything to take away from that game other than the 3-0 score line where Austin just came in, they took our lunch money, and they said, all right, we'll take the 3 points. We're headed back to Texas.
I want y'all to know, too, Kai's out watching this game while we're on a boat on Lake
Yeah.
Lanier, just having a great evening. And he's like, you know what? I got to do what I'm supposed to do for Blursed. I got to get on there and watch the game and report great news to our fans and the Atlanta United fans everywhere. And he just got getting more and more upset as he watched the game. And he even turned it off at one point. He's like, oh, God, no, I got to watch though.
Yeah, because they're all, because we're on the boat, we're having a good time. And then I progressively start to brood, and they're fishing, they're catching fish. We're looking good. Blake and his brother both actually
caught some catfish.
Nice looking catfish. And I'm just sitting over there in the corner watching Atlanta get their fucking asses handed to them. Okay. And there were several moments where it was like you just have these impulses, these intrusive thoughts to just toss your phone into Lake Lanier. But luckily I didn't do that. And yeah, so there was a lot of drama that came out after the game. As well. So
Trouble in Paradise.
Yeah, trouble. Ooh, we haven't been in paradise for a little bit now. But Joseph Martinez came out to the media. First of all, before that, I want to give a nice shout out to Mike Conti and Jason Longshore over at 99 The Game, because they're not only do they call the games, but they do the pressers afterward for the team. And instead of doing the presser right after the game, like every other sporting event currently in the world, the United players and coaches had a closed door meeting that lasted for 2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours after the game.
What?
And then they went and talked to the media.
That's what happens when you get a beat down from a team that's new to the MLS.
Yes, it was such a demoralizing loss that they were like, we got to try to do something about this right now. And in that way, I suppose there's some encouragement to be seen. But man, that's trying to find a silver lining.
Would you say it's comparable to like Snicker bringing the team together after like beginning of June, and they had that meeting after we lost a game against, I can't remember who it was against. It was a team we should have lost to. Arizona, yes.
Was it Arizona?
Yeah, it was Arizona, yes. I believe he's correct.
A little
brought us in, and it lit a fire.
Yes.
Under the Braves' feet and hearts.
That was 2 hours though.
Yeah, no way.
No, yeah.
If you're a player in that locker room, are you just like, fuck, dude, let us get out of here?
I think,
can we just go home, man?
I think it was more than just the coach, though, because I think he'll get into Martinez in just a second. I think it was also player driven. And Martinez is, he's the king of Atlanta. He's the leader of that locker room right now.
Yeah. So Joseph came out to the media after that closed door meeting, and he was pretty blunt. So first thing he said that I would also like our take on is that he said that people basically, I'm sorry, this isn't a direct quote, but he basically said, shut up about the injuries. Stop. That's an excuse. I believe his exact quote was the injuries isn't the biggest problem. Okay. End quote. And so he said, we all make mistakes. We're all professionals. We're not kids anymore. And if you come here, you have to know what you have to do. And if you don't come here 100% and if you don't come here for 100%, probably you have to choose to not play at this club. Go ahead.
It's huge. It's just a huge indictment of the team. And I don't know specifically who he might be speaking of. I actually don't know.
Yeah. And I don't want to speculate at all, because there's something that, like, I'm not here to question Joseph Martinez as the captain, as what he's seeing, as the longest tenured and legend of this club.
Yeah, a champion.
Yeah, a champion. I'm not trying to question any of what he's saying, but in all the disappointment has been the silver lining of the fact that this team doesn't quit. I've never once, like, even in watching them this weekend get beat down, they were sprinting to the ball. Where, in the 90th minute when the game was completely lost, I saw Caleb Wiley slide tackle someone on the touchline, legally, might I add you.
Yeah, it
And
wasn't out of frustration.
yeah, it wasn't out of frustration or anything. And that's been the case throughout all of our struggles since they've hit. So and I'm not saying that that's the only indicator of whether someone is here to play for the team or if they're just here for a paycheck, which is basically what Mark Joseph was saying. But I just don't see it on the field so much. I see guys that care. I see guys that get mad and frustrated and upset, and those same players getting extremely elated when we score, when one of their teammates score. So that didn't really seem like an issue to me. But like I said, I'm not gonna criticize just
right, because we're not in there in the locker room. We don't see the practice. We don't know who might be lollygagging. Yeah. It's hard to say, but it brings to attention that maybe the culture of this locker room, something's off. And whether it's the captain at the head of the ship, when Pineda, or if there are bad juju in some of the players, like bringing in some bad vibes to the team. I don't know.
Well, how much longer do we have Joseph under contract?
That is a great question.
He actually said that this might be the last year he plays here, right?
I thought I saw something about that. So that's curious to me. So I mean, it seems like he likes playing here, but also you got to worry about a culture change and like the way that things have been trending since our championship a couple years ago. I don't know much about soccer, but I know a little bit about momentum, and I know that like if you don't have a good locker room presence, then something's going wrong.
Well, the thought is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Aaron, that...
By the way, I just looked at it. He does only have 1 year left.
Right. But the thought here was when we hired Pineda that he would be that culture change, because we had a toxic culture. We had a coach that wouldn't even let them have water breaks. Like it was medieval type crap. And so you get on to a new coach, and he actually, like Aaron was talking about last week, brought a spark in this team, helped them come back from losing to make the playoffs. So I don't know if it's the coach. I don't know if Martinez is tired of like the media or like other people make excuses about injuries. Maybe that there's people on the team that say that, or maybe, but I don't know. He's trying to get to whatever the truth is. And it didn't seem like he was calling out the coach, but culture change does have a lot to do with the coach. Yeah, so maybe
that is a good point. Of the things that he said, there are some players that popped in my mind, like I said, but nothing that those players have done on the field has made me think that. It's just that they've been recent acquisitions, and so that maybe that's kind of what he was talking about. But
and maybe he's just trying to send a message like this
it didn't feel like he was aiming it at the coach though.
Right. And maybe he's just trying to say these players, and it could be kind of reminiscent of the Hawks in some ways, where you have these young players who, not saying the Atlanta United has young players, I'm just saying like, but you got to realize there is a certain culture to winning championships. There's a certain mindset, a certain determination and your work levels at a certain like height to make it where you're in every day and every day out trying to win. And maybe he just doesn't see it right 100%.
Now. And let me finish up that quote of his, because I think it paints a few more of the edges out of this here situation. And Joseph said, "We play because we have to play. But in training, some people don't have that energy. Some people don't know what they have to do, or they don't recognize or appreciate the jersey and what we've been doing for a long time here. And probably that's the biggest problem." So
I mean, he's calling out new players. It has
to be. I think he is. I think he is. And like I said, I'm not going to say who. I think it is, because literally no one. You can just go look at the newest acquisitions and see for yourself. But yeah. Anyway, that's Pineda came out. He apologized, but and I'm not gonna necessarily fault him for sounding like a broken record. But I will say that he basically just said the same shit he's been saying throughout these losses, which is, I apologize to the fans. I don't think they deserve this. We'll do better. We're going to try to have more effort, just some canned coach shit.
Coach stuff.
Coach stuff, which is fine, but it's also not great. So I don't know. So that's really, just to stop my face from getting any more red and my blood pressure from getting higher. I think that would be a good sign, unless either of you have anything else. I think now would maybe be a good time for us to flip it on over to your segment on the Hawks there, Bleezy.
Yeah, no, it's all right because we're going from. I mean, I agree. The Gonzalo Pineda, we could break it off into a hot seat conversation, but I don't think we're there yet. I don't. And
No.
even with this loss, this
Right.
past one, it just injuries are a thing. And I know Martinez telling us not to discount it, but I think our ownership and our Darnells will dismiss this season, depending on how it ends. For sure, I think there's a lot more soccer to be played. But I don't know. I don't think that's the call yet. But you know where the hot seat is at?
I think I might. Why don't you tell us?
Yeah, it's on old Nate McMillan in the
There it is.
So is it Nate the Great or McMillan the villain?
You stumbled upon it there. I think we might just have to call him McVillain.
Yeah, the old McVillain here. But I for one, I don't know if he is the McVillain. We'll get into it.
Yes.
Old Nate the Great or McVillain. So first off, in Hawksville, we have Frank the Tank signing. Frank the Kaminsky, I believe he played for Wisconsin, if I'm not mistaken, in college. Just a really a collegiate star who hasn't done the most since he's joined the NBA. But it's just anytime you pick up a name like Frank the Tank, it's going to bring fan interest. There's going to be fringe people from every NBA team that knows who he is. Who are like, the Hawks have him. Fringe, like fringe,
okay,
fringe NBA fans from
I thought
all
you were
over.
saying that specifically he had some sort of French connection.
No, not that I know of.
Kaminsky's not French, as far as I know.
I don't believe he is.
I don't think it is.
But yeah, I just think it's an awesome signing for us. He's going to play a 4-4-5, so he'll be like our third option there. So just really a depth piece. If we get some injuries or some rest nights, he'll probably get some more minutes. Secondly, Trae Young was liking some tweets this week. Big deal here was he liked to tweet about John Collins staying in Atlanta. So maybe he ends up staying in Atlanta now. The tweet referred to Hawks and Trae don't like John, blah, blah, blah. And then the bottom part said, but that only the media said that. The Hawks never said that. Trae never said that. And so he liked that because he never has said that.
And I think a lot of people, just to that point, that getting blown out of proportion. Yeah. I think something people don't realize is like, yeah, maybe Trae and John Collins aren't like best friends. Maybe they don't hang out all the time. They don't go and out to bars together. But that doesn't mean that A, they can't work together in a professional setting and win games together. And B, it doesn't mean that they don't just like each other. I mean, we all have plenty of people, more of these people than actual friends in your life, that they're just acquaintances.
Yeah,
you're fine with them.
Yeah, exactly. You work with people every day that you like, and they're great work acquaintance, but they're not your best friend. You're not telling them your whole life story.
Like, your boss isn't calling y'all into his office like, what's going on, man? You weren't at John's birthday party,
Yeah, right.
Like, that's not.
We couldn't even have this podcast if that were the case.
That's
no,
true.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
no,
100%. Just kidding.
100%. But exactly though, like I agree with that. They do say it takes a certain kind of brotherhood to win in like basketball, to win a championship, and I think there's truth to that. There is this like culture your team needs to have in order to win. But I think John Collins is a good culture to have on a team, and I think Trae agrees. Don't get me wrong. This KD thing's up in the air. Hoop Spaces on Twitter. He sent out a cryptic tweet. Not that I think he has a plug on this information, but he was talking about how there's some more back chatter about KD to Atlanta, possibly that, and it may not be KD to Atlanta, but the fact that John Collins may still be on the way out, even though Atlanta, all the media that we hear from Atlanta sides right now is John Collins staying. Even Nate McMillan came out recently praising John Collins. So that gives you a big sign that he's trying to stay, but maybe that's just a bunch of things to say right before we ship him off. It's hard to know. If by next week trades happen, then we'll talk about it then. But as of right now, I believe John Collins is going to stay with Atlanta, and I think that's the right call for the Atlanta Hawks with the way the roster is currently constructed.
I hope he stays.
Yeah, no.
That nickname you cannot replace.
Yeah, you can't replace John the Baptist. You can't.
Dang.
You just can't.
God dang.
John the Baptist is a phenomenal.
I guess he fired up, boys.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's get you fired up. Nate the Great. Let's talk about when he is great. So Nate McMillan's been a head coach for 18 years, quite a long time. He started off with the Seattle Supersonics. He coached them all the way up to 2005, winning playoffs that year, winning 6 games. He lost in round 2 of playoffs that year. He moves over to Portland Trailblazers. He's actually with Portland for a while. He brings
that's where I remember him from. That was his main
That's the first memory I have where I'm like, wow, this coach is actually pretty good. He goes to playoffs 3 times with them right near the end of his stint in Portland, and all 3 times he goes 2-4. So he gets not sweet, but he gets beat 4-2. And 3 straight years in the playoffs. I'll be honest with him though, like if you look at those teams, besides Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, like they weren't good enough to win a championship. Like they just weren't.
I think didn't he have Brandon Roy before he got hurt way back then too? In some of those earlier, like the 2008.
Yeah, no, he might have. I'm actually not 100% sure on the way those constructed rosters look. I mean, they won 54 games in a year, which is, I mean, that's a good amount of games.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Anytime you win over 50 games, you'd call that a big positive for basketball. But I would just say like these teams, even with him, aren't, I don't think as constructed we're good enough to win a championship. Same when he goes on to Indiana after that and he goes to coach the Pacers. Yeah, they have Paul George, but besides Paul George and then you got Miles Turner, they don't have much around them, especially when you're comparing them to like the Cavaliers during that time or the Heat when LeBron was there. Like they're not going to beat those teams with the roster talent that they had.
Right.
And then
sorry, let me just break in here and say this. I looked it up. So it's just some names that'll get some reminiscing going. Okay. That 2018, which was his first winning season in Portland, where they went to the playoffs.
2009. Yeah.
Yeah. Brandon Roy was their superstar back then, but they also had LaMarcus Aldridge.
Oh, I forgot about LaMarcus Aldridge.
In only his second or third year in the league. They also had a rookie out of Ohio State by the name of Greg Oden that was their starting center that year before everything that happened.
And he's probably one of the biggest busts in NBA history.
Yeah, but also one of the more sad ones because it has nothing to do with the normal things that come with bustdom.
No, for sure. I agree. Honestly, Greg Odom is a good Blursed.
That's true. Look out for
that Greg Odom.
Maybe a future Blursed of the week coming up.
Maybe we'll have him on the pod.
Yes.
Well, I mean, he was comes out of high school. Coming out of high school,
he was like
number one talented player. Yeah,
he played it for Ohio State. Like he was a superstar in college.
Yeah, he was on the cover of 2K5. So that worked out.
It did. Yeah, one of the best college basketball games of all time. Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good. No, as perfect segue. But I think it's perfect to look at those teams to compare them to this year's Hawks. I like to think that this year's Hawks, on paper, could be the best team Nate McMillan's ever had. As the Hawks head coach, he took us to the playoffs back-to-back years. He salvaged us from Lloyd Pierce last year. Goes on to win 26 out of 38 games. That's a 68% winning percentage, which is incredible. Goes on the Eastern Conference Finals, and we lose because of a referee tripping our best player. Yep. Let's call it what it is. This year, we go on to win 43 games out of the 82. It's 52% winning percentage. We barely squeak in the playoffs and get gentlemen sweep by the Heat. But let's take a deeper dive into this. This year, a lot of problems for us were injuries and conditioning. You also have the mindset of a young team. I think coming into the year, you heard Trae Young say the regular season is more boring than playoffs. Like it kind of showed.
That was huge at the time. It was like, okay.
It was not good to hear. Like, yes,
but then as the year went on, I was like, okay, that maybe paints a bigger picture for what the hell happened.
Yes, like I think at first I was like, well, I mean, he's not lying. It's not as fun as playoffs. Like, sure, you can say that. But I think as the year went on, we realized, wow, like our players weren't mentally ready for the season to start. I just don't think they realize what happens once you make it that far in the playoffs. You get a target on your back. Like you're a team to beat now, and everyone wanted to beat us. And so you never got someone's off game. You always had people playing on their A game. So I think that mindset goes into it. You also have bad defense this year, horrible defense, and which is weird because Nate McMillan is known as a defensive coach. So what I'd like to think is maybe that's a roster issue. Maybe that this year, and we've made changes since. I mean, Gallo and Kevin both are moved on we bring in more defensive minded players that take their places. DeJounte Murray, I mean, he's probably an elite guard defender in the whole league. Then you also bring in the Holiday brothers, both I would say are a net positive defensive players, and Mo Harkless brings some defensive grit as well. So just you find a lot of defensive talent we're going for this year. So maybe the bad defense is not a byproduct of Nate McMillan's coaching, but instead is actually a byproduct of just the personnel we had this past year.
Right.
And I'll say this, and we were talking about this earlier, Aaron, is that we mentioned that the Hawks have a top 5, top 10 offense in the NBA, and that's with Nate McMillan's a defensive sided coach. So like
100%.
If he can get one of his normal defenses this year and keep our offense that well, it just shows you one how good Trae Young is on offense, but also shows you that Nate McMillan can adjust. He can make these adjustments. Also going in, I wanted to break down some of the injuries that happened this year. So John Collins was injured. He only played 54 games this year. DeAndre Hunter only played 52 games this year. TLC had to start 18 games this year. I will say we also had 24 total players on our roster this year. A lot of that has to do with COVID. So we did have, I think, the largest roster like in the history of the NBA this year with one-way contracts and things of that such. Yep. So there's a lot that we can give Nate McMillan grace on this year.
Sure.
Something else that I see that fans got very upset about was the fact that we didn't start our rookies, Jalen Johnson and Sharif Cooper.
Nate doesn't play rookies, man.
He doesn't, but I'll also give him some credit here. Let me just name our starting lineup: Trae, Kayvon, Hunter, JC, CC. So that's John Collins and Clint Capella for those who don't know. And then our 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th man is Gallo, Onyeka, and Kongwu, Bogey, and Delon Wright. I'm sorry, but Jalen Johnson and Sharif Cooper are not better than any of those players I just mentioned.
That's fair.
I do think, however, when COVID hit us, we should have given them more playing time over signing Wes Sinandu, Cameron Oliver, Malcolm Hill, Lance Stevenson. We gave him 6 games. I think Jalen Johnson or Sharif Cooper maybe could have given us just as meaningful minutes, especially during that moment. Because you've watched our games during that time, we weren't winning games anyway. So I think if we're going to give a knock on Nate McMillan, it's there. He could have played them there, but overall they weren't ready. And I think Sharif Cooper is showing you he wasn't ready with the way the Hawks have started off their summer league this year. He's struggled mightily. Hasn't done much in the summer league. A lot of that has to do with him being one of the only offensive presence we have on our summer league team right now, but also shows you that he's not quite ready for that leap yet into the NBA. Something else another knock we can give Nate McMillan is that he refused to call timeouts on runs. So how many times during a game will we watch the other team go on a 10 plus run, 10-0 run, and then Nate McMillan doesn't call a timeout. But as soon as we start a counterattack, like a 4-0 run, the other coach calls a timeout, which I think timeouts are huge in basketball for stopping and starting momentum. And especially when the opposing team is scoring, 4-6 points, it's good to get ahead of that.
You have to. And that's something that's important in all levels of basketball. But just because it's such a momentum-driven sport, if you let it get away from you for too long without doing anything about it, the game can be over.
No, yeah, exactly. Right. It's literally a game of runs. So Nate McMillan, if he's going to do anything this year, he has to start calling timeouts when these runs start happening against us, because other teams do it against us. Like Spoelstra I'll coach the hell out of him during the playoffs.
Oh, God, yes.
And I will say Eric Spoelstra is probably one of the top 3 coaches in the NBA right now.
Which is crazy. That one of the things I've been the most wrong on in my life.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
When Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah, when LeBron went there, he actually was like, no, we're going to do things this way. And Eric Spoelstra said, no, this is my team. He said, this is my team.
And not only that, but when they all left, for him to continue what he's done with that franchise as their head coach since then.
I agree.
That's crazy impressive.
No, they've been to an Eastern Conference Finals. They've been to a NBA Finals. I know they lost in the bubble, and I know they lost this year to Boston, but Boston's matchup just was better. But if you look at the Heat team's not as talented as that Boston team was.
Not at all.
He's just a great coach, and players play their heart out for him. Something else back to Nate McMillan that's bothered me about his coaching is his double shift rotations. I think we can all talk about that. The current GM of the Hawks already came out and said that will not be happening this year. Like Trae or DeJounte will both be on the court at different times as well. Like we'll always have one of them on the court, which means that Nate's going to have to mix up these rotations some, which will be good for the team.
Yes.
We don't need to see that anymore, Nate. I'm sorry. We just don't. So something I was going to ask y'all is, here's my game. Do we keep Nate if we start off 2-8?
Do we keep Nate if we're 2-8? I think
our first in games.
Yeah, I think yes, only because in an 82 game season, if you fire somebody after 10 games, no matter how those 10 games went, then you as a GM should be fired as well. You shouldn't be pulling a lead. Like, just if 10 games is all you're going to give someone in an 82 game season, then you should have fired him at the end of last year.
I'll agree with that. I like that. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
If you were, I get your point. Like if you were going to, why fire him now? But I will say to a counter argument for that is like, you didn't know at the end of the last year you were going to get Murray. Not saying that it changes things, but you didn't. I don't know if that changes. Maybe it changes expectations for the front office. Now, like expectations to go up. And you don't want to fire your coach leading into a season. It's better. So,
and I agree with you saying, I know you were just playing devil's advocate, but just that, and a counterpoint back to that would just be that, like, you as management should have known the moves you were going to try to do. And while obviously getting DeJounte Murray does put more pressure on the coach to win, if that is what breaks the camel's back, then just go ahead and get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I agree with that. All right, so
I think it depends on like the size of the losses too, and like what's the issue is if it's like a morale thing right off the bat, then that's on the coach.
That is
for sure.
And if you can tell by looking at it, if we can tell as fans by looking at it that that's maybe an issue, I don't know that there's something that would turn it around quicker than just saying, all right, next man up. Who else is on the bench?
I can see that,
especially when you have all this interest from the trades you made this offseason. So, coming into the season, there's going to be a lot of expectations from the fans and a lot of hype. So that you're right. I mean, if Nate doesn't start off hot, it could be the mass exodus of Nate. Because as soon as Twitter gets roaring, it's going to start going all over every headline. So if we are below 500 All-Star break, do we fire Nate McMillan?
So I, on this one, would say what Hayden said.
Depends on.
For the first one. It depends on how we're below 500. So there's been a ton of injuries. Did another strain of COVID come in and put a halt to the season, or make it to where certain players couldn't play like last year, so on and so forth? Or are we just shit? And if that's the case, then yeah, maybe the halfway mark is the time to let him go, or the All-Star break, is the time to let him go.
Which is basically the halfway point in basketball. I agree with you in that sense that if we're at the All-Star break, I don't care why we're under 500. Really? If we're at the All-Star break, I think, and we're below 500, I think he needs to be fired. That's what they did to Lloyd Pierce. That's
true.
That's the point in the season where if you're going to make a trade, you're going to start making your trades before the trade deadline because it's coming up. You're trying to make sure you make that push for playoffs, especially with the play-in tournament. It's so much more important to get a top 6 position than it ever was in the past. Right. You don't want to be playing for your life in that play-in tournament. Now that's like a official part of the NBA, which I think is a good thing. I think more playoff basketball is always a good thing. But yeah, I think at that point you fire him, you cut losses. All right. So would you want to answer that, Hayden?
No.
Okay. If we were to miss the playoffs.
Yeah. If we miss the playoffs with this roster, I don't care what happens with John Collins. This current roster as constructed.
Right. Whether John Collins is here or not.
Yeah. Missing the playoffs with last year's roster would have been a fireable offense. Doing it with this year's roster? Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, they may not even wait till the season's over. It would be when we're mathematically out of the playoffs. Just go ahead and do it then.
Just go ahead and cut the loss.
Just go ahead and cut that then.
I mean, especially with the moves that are being made now, shipping people off, bringing in bigger talent.
Yeah, these are window open moves.
It is win now. If you aren't doing that, then he's on thin ice.
Yeah, you're not to bring Ice Trey into this, but you are wasting his win, like his peak playoff, and you don't want to. Basketball is just so important to keep your star happy, and winning kind of does that. So if you let your star walk, then who cares that Trey made the Eastern Conference Finals before Luka did? Who cares? Blah, 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 because then you don't have Trey anymore. It doesn't matter at that point.
Doesn't matter.
All right. So say we make it to playoffs, but we lose the first round.
Same. Yep. Because of the fact that, and by same, I mean, fire. Fire. Because of the fact, I was almost going to say it on the last part, but I'll say it on this one, which is that I'm maybe if he should be fired if we're not a top 4 seed, maybe top 5 at least.
I agree with top 5.
A top 5 seed if we're not one of those teams, then it's, I'm not saying fight like when the bracket, when the last day of the regular season ends and we're the 5th seed to fire him then. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But I think that we've underachieved enough at that point.
To warrant not, yeah, exactly.
To warrant not bringing him back as head coach for sure.
100%. No, I mean, I'm going to agree with that too. I just think you got a first round exit this year. If you're making first round exits in the playoffs, you're doing it wrong. You should either be winning the lottery and getting the first, second, or third pick, or the first pick, really, or you should be fighting for that conference finals, NBA finals.
It was the reason why the Hawks started the rebuild that led us to where we're at now. When we let Coach Bud go, or when we agreed mutually for Coach Bud to leave, because he didn't want to do a rebuild. What he wanted to win now somewhere, and then that Hawks team was great, but we
reached our peak. We
had reached our peak, which was getting swept in the Eastern Conference Finals. So
to LeBron,
yes, LeBron.
Okay, so here's the next thing. What if we fail to reach the conference championship?
So
we make it to the second round, but we lose the second round.
That one, I'm going to kind of take a little flavor from our first answer from Hayden once again, which was it's how we lose that series. Yeah. If we lose in the second round by getting swept, I think also fired. I think gone.
Guys, I thought I was hard on Snit, but like this is I feel for the guy a little bit. Like
I'm serious, it's crazy.
He had one full season, right, as head coach.
Yeah, but there's this much pressure.
It didn't go that well, but I mean that's great. Like, ooh, man, it is tough.
But he also it was like, I mean, he had like half, if not a little over half of a season before that.
I think also too, the reason why there's so much pressure on Nate is because of how many years he's coached.
That too. Nate is a known commodity.
Yeah, he's 18 years in. Like, you're either a guy who can win playoff games or you're not. And for 18 years, he hasn't been able to win playoff games. So I just think that if you're not making if you don't at least make it to the Eastern Conference Finals this year, I think he's almost fired. Unless, don't get me wrong, unless we lose the conference semis on like a 4-3 overtime game. You know what I mean? Like we get to game 7, then we lose to the team that goes on to the championship or something like that. Like, I'll give him grace there, but you have to at least make it, I think, to the game 6, game 7, the semis, or you have to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
And I agree. You can't be a middle of the road team in the NBA. You can't, or you'll just stay there. You'll stay there. What are the teams that were really there? Like, I think of the guy that was coaching in Denver for a really long time, bald guy. His teams were always like middle of the road, and like probably when Carmelo was there, like in the early mid 2000s.
No, but Denver has always just been a middle of the road playoff team. Like that's all they've ever been.
The example still works to this day. Yeah. But yeah, like you're not going to get the talent that you need. And if you're not in a large market, you're not going to be able to attract the talent via free agency either. So you're just stuck.
Yeah. No, Wizards have been stuck.
If you're playing well.
The Wizards have been stuck for years. The Nuggets have been stuck for years.
George Karl, by the way, that's
George Karl,
and I think that's a perfect example.
Which he's a good coach too, honestly.
He is.
Yeah. But yeah, no,
but he had Carmelo and AI.
Yeah, you're right. By the way, you got to do a little bit more of that. Yeah. So no,
AI is coming for us all, so don't forget that. Watch out.
Yes.
And he played for Philly.
Little artificial intelligence jokes for you guys.
Yes, sir.
All right.
We're big Isaac Asimov guys here. So anyway.
What'd you call me?
Yeah. Isaac Asahole.
Bless you.
Bless you. So here's my question then for you guys. If we do fire Nate the Great or McMillan the villain, the old McVillain, what are our other options? So first one I'd like to point out is Mike D'Antoni.
God.
If you know Mike D'Antoni as recently, it's because he was most recently the Houston Rockets head coach from 2016 and 2020. But let's rewind time. So Mike D'Antoni has a winning basketball record. It's not as good as Nate McMillan's actually over his lifetime, but it's a 5.1 or 0.516. So right above 51%.
500 basically.
Yeah, basically 500. But his highs have been high. So he coached the Suns from 2002 to 2008. He was known for his high tempo pick and roll offense. Who's really good at the pick and roll? Trae Young.
That's
is one of the best
players.
Basketball players. That's who's good.
That's also a good answer.
Yeah.
Yes,
that is good.
But while he was there and led this high octane pick and roll offense, Steve Nash.
That's an absurd sentence. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Steve Nash won not one, but 2 MVPs. D'Antoni won the Coach of the Year, and the Suns won 50-plus games 4 seasons in a row. However, they did not win the big one. So he ends up getting an offer from the Knicks at the – yes.
I would just like to point out, this guy, I mean, all else aside, he has 3 first names.
Mike, Dan, and Tony. That's true. That's a great point.
How about that?
He does. That's the new
gotta mean
also,
something.
I also used to get him tripped up with Mark D'Antonio, who was the head coach at Michigan State for so long. Yeah. Yes. So I used to get them tripped up all the time. Anyway,
that's a close one. No, but then the Knicks nicked him, and they signed him in 2008. He made it to one playoff appearance with Carmelo and Stoudemire while he was there, but it was not a good tenure for the Knicks. It got worse when he left to go to the Lakers in 2012. His first full season there, they went 27-55. It was right near the end of the Kobe Shaq era. And let's just say the Lakers were not good then. They weren't good actually for a while until LeBron came and won them a ring many years later. So then he doesn't coach his own team for a couple of years, and the Houston Rockets sign him when they have Harden. He goes on to win NBA Coach of the Year in 2017. They go 65-17, but they lose to the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. If you remember this series, they lost in Game 7 after Chris Paul had gotten hurt in the series. So honestly, maybe one of my blurs of the weeks coming up will be Chris Paul. He just what a great player considered the point god, but time and time again he's gotten hurt in playoffs and missed the biggest games, and then his team goes on to lose and not make it to the finals. Yes. They're never major injuries either. They're always just small ones where, like, if a team would just win, he would come back, I feel like, the next week or something like that. I don't believe he's ever gotten like a major injury has caused him, but I could be wrong. Maybe he tore an Achilles recently, actually, because I don't look that up. I'm not 100% sure.
What, the torn Achilles?
You just look up Chris Paul injury report, if you would. So we keep going on. After losing the conference semifinals in 2020, D'Antoni announced they would not return to the team. He's currently coaching advisor for the New Orleans Pelicans. So what do we think about Mike D'Antoni?
Oh, man. I didn't know you were going to open up to us. I would have saved my comment for the end.
No, you're good. You're good. This is more for Kize because you did.
I hate it, to be honest with you. But only because, to me, if you're going to fire Nate McMillan and bring someone else in, you're not changing anything. If you're bringing in
another old head.
I almost said Mark D'Antonio. I'll trip myself up. Yeah, Mike D'Antoni, because you did say a lot of the accolades and the teams that he coached and what they did in the playoffs, but what they did in the playoffs is not what we're trying to do in the playoffs. And he did that with better rosters. Those Suns teams, I'm not looking at this, so just from memory, so one of our dear listeners, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe some of the starting 5 on that team was a guy named Steve Nash. I believe they had
MVP Steve Nash.
Yeah, I believe they had Grant Hill and Amari Stoudemire.
So they're
prime Stoudemire, by the way.
Yeah, so the year they go 61-21, the 06-07 Suns, they go 60, they win 61 games. They finish first in the Pacific Division. Steve Nash, you have Boris Diaw, James Jones, Jermaine Jones, Sean Marion, Sean Marks, Jalen Rose, Mari Stoudemire. Just an incredible.
Yeah. That's an old
here.
Jalen Rose, but yeah. So I don't know. That's a more talented lineup than what we've got right now.
I think it's comparable though. I think if you could, Steve Nash and Trae Young, like Trae Young's a better scorer than Steve Nash was.
Yes.
We have a better secondary ball handler. No, but I agree with you. I mean, I don't know. I don't think Mike D'Antoni is my top choice. I just think it's interesting. I think maybe if the Hawks already have a top offense with Nate McMillan, who knows how good it could be if we actually had an offensive-minded coach. I don't know. Something that our defense couldn't get any worse. So, like, that's just the way I look at it. If you're the Hawks and you're like, we need to win now, do you go for a young coach or do you go for a more experienced?
I got some coach speak for you. You know what they say. Offense wins games, boys. Defense wins championships.
I heard that. So that's another reason to stick with Nate right there.
No, you're right. And the last coaching person I'll bring up before we head on to a different sport is Kenny Atkinson. I just want to mention the name. If you don't know,
he
country
did study.
Singer, right?
Yes, Kenny Chesney. He
Cooking in
studied
the
under.
microwave, all that stuff.
He did study
Tobey
under
Maguire.
Bud. I hate. You said Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man. Yes.
Who am I thinking of? Keith.
Toby Keith?
Oh,
I think you had it with Tobey Maguire.
all right. Now we're jumping all around. What are we gonna do here, guys?
Yeah.
All right.
But
Tobey
speaking
Maguire, Toby Keith.
Mark Maguire, who
Keith.
looked like a country singer.
Oh, he would be a hell of a basketball coach.
who's that old Falcons player? Keith, the linebacker.
Brooking.
Keith Brooking.
Shout out Levi London. He's gonna love that one. But yeah.
Brookings Institute. I don't know. I'm trying to keep going from that, but it's
no, it's okay. We don't have to.
It's hard. But yes.
You're
so
welcome for that.
no, thank you. I do appreciate that. No, but anyways, Kenny Atkinson. Just the last thing I'll say about him is that he did accept to coach for the Hornets. Then 8 days later, he declined it to go back to the Warriors to be the lead assistant. And I'm just wondering, is there that Travis Schlenk, Steve Kerr connection that he's like, yo, if you go back and coach one more year, we'll fire Nate McMillan and we'll bring you on to coach the Hawks. So we'll see. Maybe they're waiting for the Nate McMillan contract to go out. I don't know. Maybe they're giving him one more chance. But that would be my conspiracy of the day. And speaking of conspiracies, I have a conspiracy about ESPN. As we move on from basketball and into just a fun segment for us this week, I don't think we have a name for it. I wrote something down. I put in the news. So this is just something that I saw come up.
What a unique segment title.
I know. I've never heard of it.
I was blown away by that.
Yeah, right. Just
in the
a little.
news.
I'm gonna need to take a minute. Jesus.
All right. Anyways, okay. I don't know what to call it around the tweeting.
Blake, we're gonna get obliterated in the news for this.
ESPN gave their top 10 NFL quarterback rankings. I thought it'd be fun for us as a group to make our own top 10 quarterback rankings. I would like to first start off though to go through their top 10. So for our listeners, number 1, Aaron Rodgers, and they put their age next to it for us. So age 38.
Love that.
Number 2, Patrick Mahomes, age 26. Number 3, Josh Allen, age 25. Number 4, Tom Brady, age 44.
Oh my goodness.
Number 5, Joe Burrow, age 25. Number 6, Matthew Stafford, age 34. Number 7, Justin Herbert, age 24. Number 8, Russell Wilson, age 33. Which I'll say that about Russell Wilson. I saw he was still in his 20s. Like that guy's been young forever to me. And I guess like he's actually 1 year younger than Matthew Stafford. Number 9, Deshaun Watson, age 26. And number 10, Dak Prescott, age 28.
That last one almost made me vom.
So guys, what are our initial reaction here?
Well, that was my initial reaction. That
Dak Prescott, bit of disgust.
Yes.
But mine's more about Deshaun Watson. But I know he's a local kid, but good Lord.
So what's the first snub that comes to mind?
Lamar freaking Jackson.
I'm so glad you mentioned him.
Yes. I'm not sure how he's not there. Now, that is to say, it's a crowded list. I'm not saying Lamar should like shoot to the top or that Lamar should have been, above Aaron Rodgers or something like that. I'm not saying that. But, God, Dak Prescott?
Yeah, I just think when you look at Lamar Jackson, there's a couple I don't know. He gets a bad rap, and I don't know why. So here's his stats. He's had 4 seasons, but he's only played 3 seasons worth of games because he did not start the first 10 games of his first season, and he missed the last 6 of last season. So in his first 4 NFL seasons for games played, he's averaged 12 wins a season, 4,300 yards per season, and 35 touchdowns a season. I mean, that's elite.
It is.
All those numbers are elite. You're averaging over. You're winning games, which I know is a big contributor for a lot of people. Not only are you winning games, but you are putting up big numbers and you're scoring a lot of touchdowns.
Right. As they like to say, wins are not a quarterback stat.
You are right that people like that, but the problem is they love saying wins are a stat whenever like you're doing player comparisons, like for Matt Ryan, for instance, like, well, he's never won the big one, but it's like, I feel like people pick and choose when wins can be counted and when wins cannot be counted for these such things.
Certainly.
So as we start our list, guys, let's talk about how we're going to do this. We could either all 3 name a player that we think should be number 1, and then based on consensus vote, we go with that player, or we just debate it out.
Let's just talk it out. Obviously, we did not prepare for this much.
No, we did not.
which is fine. That's the
There's
best
a
way to
list
do
that
that.
That's
we're
the
all
best part
looking
about
at.
this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Let's
all right,
go with it.
all right. So who I think is the number one quarterback right now in the NFL. I'm gonna have to say.
Wait.
Should we talk 10?
Let's go 10-1.
Okay, 10.
Yes.
That's a little harder. Hold up.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
but
you're one of those people that always backs into the parking spot, aren't you?
I'm not actually, unless there's an empty one in front of me, in which case I pull through.
Oh yeah.
You got to do the pull through.
You
If
have
I see
to.
someone not pulling through, I criticize them in my mind. I think that they are, just someone I wouldn't like to hang around.
All right, this list will be something that flexes, I guess, as we make it. So for who I think is number 10 right now, I would have to say probably Russell Wilson. And I might move him up as we go, as we name more people.
Are we just reordering the list, or are we creating one?
No, we're creating one.
I'd like to throw a name in there that's not on the list.
Yeah, for number 10.
Matt Ryan.
Love it.
I think
Really?
he should be on the list. Yes.
Hayden, yes.
I think he's gonna have a little bit of a revitalization this year.
And I don't think
somewhere
there's
new.
Yes.
Maybe
What's
not the
crazy
best
to me-
situation here the last few years, but
I don't think
It's
there's
just-
any issue. I think all three of us can agree with him at 10.
I'll be honest with you. I actually wasn't going to put Matt Ryan on my top 10. And I'm actually shocked that Hayden, that's just a little background on Hayden. He's always been a huge Aaron Rodgers fan for good reason. But I just did not expect you to put Matt Ryan at 10. Like, I just didn't see that coming. I'm not going to argue Matt Ryan 10. I would like to tentatively put him at 10, but we will talk about it as we further fledge this list out.
all right. So
Aaron, would you like to nominate who's at 9? And we'll.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually put Lamar at 9.
I have no issues with him at 9 right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Hayden, what are your thoughts there?
let's keep chugging, see where we land.
Okay, so you're
I'll
loving
judge based on the next pick if I like it or not.
it. Okay, fair. Let's see. Well, then, do you want to
actually,
take the nomination?
no.
for
I
the
actually
8th?
think I would like to push him up already.
Push him up.
Yeah, to 8.
I mean, even as a Lamar stan, I have it's hard to find.
See, I think I like Lamar right now more than Deshaun Watson.
Yes, but he's very unknown. So that Deshaun's not even in my top 10 though. So that's why he's
That's fair. Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair. What about for you, Hayden?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of hoping we'd just go ahead and pick number 8.
Oh,
And then I was gonna compare, like, okay,
yeah,
do I
you're right.
think
You're
this
right.
person's
I'll
better than
go.
Lamar or not?
I'll
there.
go. Russell Wilson, number 8.
Okay. What are our thoughts there, Hayden?
I think I like Lamar at 9
Okay.
because
yeah.
I think
I'm with-
Russell in an actual passing offense
Yes.
or just an offense that passes the ball league average, as opposed to what he's been dealing with in Seattle. I think you're going to see the cream rise to the top. And,
I agree.
Yeah,
I think we'd all
he's
probably
just-
agree with that.
Wait, I actually now
QB.
think Russell Wilson might be better than like Matthew Stafford.
No.
Oh my God! Just
You don't-
now, you just now think that?
Yeah, well, I forgot that Matthew Stafford's on the list. What do y'all think about that? If we put Matthew Stafford at 8, or do you
That's
think
a
he's
tough
better?
one. That's extremely tough for me. I think they're pretty close.
I think he's top 5.
You think Stafford's
Stafford?
top 5?
Yeah.
Love it. I
All right,
love
you
to hear it, Hayden.
nominate 7. Let's keep going. You keep going, Hayden. You nominate 7.
Me at 7? Let's say.
I've
Let's
got
go-
one if you don't, Hayden.
Okay, I'll let you have it.
I was gonna go Joey Burrow at 7.
Ooh.
I'm
Off the Super Bowl loss?
I'm fine with that, and I'm gonna say because a lot of people have Joe Burrow in like their top 5 or top 6. I think 7's a fine place for him. I think he is top 10 worthy, especially after his Super Bowl run. But if you look at the season before that, which was rookie season, there were some question marks, and he went on a run like no other to end this season. Can he sustain it? Can he keep it up? I think it's enough to keep him top 10, but I don't want to put him in the top 5 discussion yet.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, well that's fine by me because the person I want to nominate is Justin Herbert.
There it is.
It's
Love it.
my fantasy hero.
God, he's so good.
I just fall. That's how I fall in love with him. Is like that's how I
He's
fell
a
in love with
little
Aaron
baby.
Rodgers, and then Aaron Rodgers has been letting me down in the news a bit. So off that crazy train, and now I found my new golden boy, Justin Herbert.
Yes.
And I think Justin Herbert actually is better than Joe Burrow. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I
I
think he
agree.
is for sure.
I think
Like
he is better than Joe Burrow for sure.
I actually think Justin Herbert's closer to Josh Allen than he is to Joe Burrow.
Speaking of,
Would you
At
you want to
five?
put Josh Allen at 5?
I think I'm putting him at 5. Yeah.
Lordy.
I all right. I don't agree with
All right.
this.
You know what? Hold on. If all right, Matthew Stafford at 5,
Okay.
Okay, I'm fine
and
with
then
that.
Josh Allen.
I still don't know if I agree with it, but
You'd rather have TB over Josh Allen?
Yeah. Well, that's another question. It depends on how we're ranking this. Are we ranking it right now, like what they're doing right now, or who I'd rather have? Because who I'd rather have would be Justin Herbert, number 1.
Right. No, it's not about who you'd rather have for a franchise. It's right now, this season.
This season alone.
Who would you rather have this season? Who's playing for you this season?
Still maybe going Tom over Josh.
See, I think for me personally, if I had to knock this out right here, I'm going Tom, Aaron, Josh, Pat.
Oh,
I think Pat's the best quarterback.
no, I agree with the Pat at 1. It's Josh at 2 that strings me a little bit.
You think both Aaron and Tom are better than Josh?
Yes.
Or what
I think Aaron definitely is.
Did we flip back to going 1 to 4 for the last 4 picks here?
I guess we're doing all 4
no,
at once.
4, 3, 2, 1.
I think we're just doing all 4 at once.
Okay.
We're just talking about.
You said the names, and I was like, "Wait, are we flipped?" Because
No,
I
said
think A-Rod has to be first. Didn't he win the MVP last year?
Yeah, 4 of them total,
and he's won 2 in a row.
Yeah, something crazy like that.
I mean, like I'm off the crazy train,
but still,
I'll be damned he's not the best. He does it all by himself, and it'll be on show more this year without Devontae Adams, so that'll be actually really interesting to watch. Just the way that he does it, he probably won't make it past the second round of the playoffs, but
it is 2, by the way, in a row. Yes.
Yeah. It's hard. That's hard to say that he's not.
You're right. No, I mean I think that's fair.
All right. So what if we did Tom at 4, then Josh, then Pat, then Aaron?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think that water found its level there. I think that.
So
I do think A-Rod will have a quicker demise than Tom Brady is having, though, in my opinion, just because the way that he
and it could be this year.
I mean, it could be because he depends a lot on his feet, and that's not something that Tom's ever really had to do.
Right.
And so when those feet go, so does he.
So I'd like to point out something that I mentioned to Aaron earlier today, which is in football right now, I think there's a lot of depth at the quarterback position. So I'd like to just point out, so our top 10, Matt Ryan, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. But with that list, we're leaving off Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, which I think, I don't know what order they would be in, but those have to be the next 5 you'd have to
Kirk
mention.
Cousins is last.
Yeah.
Dude, out of those 5?
Yes. I'm a big Dak guy.
No, I'm a big Dak guy too. I actually would put Dak at 11.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I actually think Dak should be higher than Matt Ryan personally, but
Matt Ryan's got that new city shine right now.
No, and I think Matt Ryan actually has a better chance of winning.
Overall talent over Dak as well.
He also has a better chance of winning a playoff game this year, I think, than Dak does. I'm sorry, the Cowboys are just doomed.
Yeah,
they're not going to win it. But if we had to do 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, well, just to get this whole picture out here.
I'm thinking, oh man, that is tough. Kyler Murray might be 15 for me.
Really?
I don't like him because he's a baby back bitch.
He's a little bitty baby Yoda.
He thinks he's in the NBA with all that social media shit going on.
This is the fucking NFL, son.
He's only played 2 years in the league, right?
No.
Is it 3?
I think it's 3. Maybe it is 2. I think it's 3. I think it's 3.
It came out the year after Baker, I think, right?
And he didn't win, and I know they didn't put in a playoff game.
Okay, it's 3 years.
Yeah.
But the teams have a 5th-year option on the players, right?
Yes.
It's he still has 2 years left.
I know, but
contract.
He wants more money, man.
Kyler Murray. All right, let me see if this is a hot take for you guys. He smacks of very Robert Griffin-y. No?
I mean,
It's
Robert
like
Griffin had
Robert
1
Griffin
year.
mixed with like Frodo.
Yeah. Like a shorter Robert Griffin. Yeah, no, like I just mean as far
No.
as
Hobbit
perhaps,
form.
yes, career trajectory, perhaps. Now I know that he's already passed where Robert got to, but I just mean like as far as a defense catching up to what they do and longevity as far as how they play.
No, I mean, I would agree. I mean, it's hard to know because like I think Kyler's already surpassed him, but when it comes to will the defense figure him out? Maybe. I just think for me, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 right there is a toss up between Dak, Kyler, Deshaun, Derek Carr, and Kirk Cousins. I just think it's a lot closer than we think.
Yeah. Yep. But no, I agree. But I think that's a good top 15 right there, though.
For sure.
Overall.
But if you agree, let us know. If you disagree, also let us know. I'm sure our friends are going to go in on how bad our list is. Just one last reminder: we got number 1 Aaron Rodgers, 2 Patrick Mahomes, 3 Josh Allen, 4 Tom Brady, 5 Stafford, 6 Herbert, 7 Joe Burrow, 8 Russell Wilson, 9 Lamar Jackson, and 10 Matt Ryan.
Heard that.
All right, so we'll end that Blursed topic and head on to the next.
Indeed, which is, I believe, our Blursed of the week. Am I correct there?
You are right.
Okay, so the Blursed of the week. I'm not sure how many of you people will recognize this name, but our Blursed of the week is a fella by the name of Eldrick Tont Woods.
Sorry, Eldrick.
Yep, he was born December 30th, 1975. And might I add that he goes by the name Tiger. I'd say most people know him as Tiger Woods. And so, and no joke, by the way, I did not know his name was Eldrick Tont until I looked this up.
Taunt is it's just hard to look at.
It is.
It's
and I think
T-O-N-T.
Yeah. I think it's Taiwanese, I believe. Right. Or Thai, I should say, probably not Taiwanese, Thai. But either way, Eldrick is ridiculous. So we're focusing on Tiger this week because St. Andrews is this weekend. And while I'm not a big golf guy, I respect the what am I searching for here? Like the air. Yes, I'm sorry, Jenna said what now?
You heard him.
I think qua.
No. Yeah, no, exactly. It's the air of history and the pageantry and literally it's the birthplace of golf. And so Tiger is going to be competing in it. He's actually going to be there this weekend. And so it got me thinking, who has had a more Blursed life directly in the public eye than Tiger Woods has had? Just to start with we'll start with our his childhood here, not our childhood. Although I wish
we are Tiger Woods.
Yeah, we are Tiger. So yeah. We obviously know who Tiger Woods is. We don't have to go over anything like that. But I would like to say that he started with a bit of a curse, may not be the right word, but certainly something to fight through as a boy that I didn't know about. He actually had, and that I relate to as someone who had a stuttering problem as a kid myself, but apparently Tiger actually had quite the stuttering problem. And something sweet that he did that wasn't widely known, or at least wasn't known to me, that he actually wrote a letter to a young boy who reached out and said that he had contemplated suicide. Woods wrote back, "I know what it's like to be different and to sometimes not fit in. I also stuttered as a child, and I would actually talk to my dog and he would sit there and listen until he fell asleep. I took classes for 2 years to help me, and I finally learned to stop." And I thought that was really sweet. That came from an ABC News story that aired in 2015 about Tiger. And, I thought that in that it showed just kind of the guy that he was, or that he probably is still. But also, one little funny thing that I want to point out in that quote is when he wrote that note to the kid, he tried to connect with something that was, he said he would sit and he would talk to his dog and that would help him, right? And then he was like, "But I also took a class for 2 years to help me, and I finally learned to stop. So maybe don't talk to the dog, but do go get some help."
His dogs bring comfort.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Something else I didn't know, he was nicknamed Tiger in honor of his father's friend, who was South Vietnamese Colonel Vuong Dang Phong. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, but I gave it my best shot there.
Sounds pretty good.
Who was also known as Tiger. So he kind of just recycled that into his son's nickname, which is cool. But yeah, so, being named Eldrick and stuttering as a kid, probably not a great start, but getting the nickname Tiger probably helps. So that's going to be boom. That's your first blessing.
I mean, your cool level goes up immediately.
Your cool level just skyrockets.
I want to hear Aaron try to say Tiger in Coach O voice.
Tiger, come on now.
Come on now, Tiger.
Come on that Tiger now. But yeah, so anyway, then things start to turn around. All right. At age 20, he turns into a professional in 1996, and he immediately signs the largest advertising deal that in golf history at that time with Nike and Titleist. He was named Sports Illustrated's 1996 Sportsman of the Year and PGA Tour Rookie of the Year. In 1997, he won his first major, which was the Masters, and in record-breaking fashion, and became the tournament's youngest winner at age 21. 2 months later, he set the record for fastest ascent to number one in the official world golf ranking. And then in the he finished the 1999 season with 8 wins, including the PGA Championship, which is something someone had not done since Johnny Miller did it in 1974. So he overcame pretty quickly those early curses with some early blesses. Okay,
we seem a little blessing heavy here.
We're a little bit blessed.
Let's get into something a little sexy.
Yeah. Well,
oh no.
So it depends on where we want to go down.
Don't put the tiger before the cart.
The Tiger Woods timeline right now, because I'm pretty sure anyone who lived in Earth around 2009 knows what's coming a little bit later down this timeline, and that one's gonna fall more on the curse side, I'll be honest. But yeah, so anyway, but I'm glad you brought that up. So here's another curse that I didn't really know about. Tiger was actually severely myopic, and his eyesight had a rating of 11 diopters, which, Blake, if you could look that up for me. I have no clue what a diopter is, but yeah. I'm feeling like having 11 of them is bad. And so in order to correct this problem, he underwent successful laser eye surgery in 1999 and immediately resumed winning tour events right after when he returned to the tour.
How many diopters did he have?
11 of them things.
So it says in humans, the total optical power of a relaxed eye is approximately 60.
So that is bad. is what I'm hearing, right?
It's not in the way you thought.
No, I thought it was gonna be high. I thought it was like, most people have like a rating of 2.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, okay, listener, you definitely knew about diopters.
Yeah. Okay, so we got some
we're
big
definitely saying
diopter
that
guys
wrong,
out here.
Oh yeah.
Maybe diopter.
Diopters.
Diopter, yeah. But no. Anyway, so yeah, so boom. So it's up and down. It's Blursed all over this man's life already. And we're not even in 2007 yet. So in 2006, he was already dominant in that time frame. I'm skipping a lot of wins, okay? Because like Hayden said, we don't want to get too blessing heavy here on Blursed.
He's just the second most winning golfer of all time.
Yeah, and he might cross that threshold. Probably not, but he might get up there with Jack is. But anyway, winning his first 2 PGA tournaments, but failing to capture his 5th Masters championship in April, following the death of his father in May. Woods took some time off the tour and appeared rusty upon his return at the U.S. Open. So, yeah, I remember growing up when that happened, and it felt like a Michael Jordan losing his dad type thing. They were also very close, Tiger and his father, as far as I know. So,
you could say Tiger's not Tiger without his dad.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, he actually isn't Tiger.
Can literally say that. We'd be talking about some fucker named Tont. But but basically, that obviously shook him, and so he did, however, return the second half of that year. He not only did he return to the tour, but he returned to form, and he ended the year by winning 6 consecutive tour events. And at the season's close, Woods had 54 total wins that included 12 majors, and he broke tour records for both total wins and total majors um, over his 11-year span already in that league. So, yeah, he honored Pops pretty well at the close of that season.
And at this point in his career, like he's on trajectory to beat Jack Nicklaus pretty early. It seems like he's going.
Yeah, definitely. But then perhaps something else happened. So he continued to excel the year after in 2007, and then in the first part of 2008. But that's when a lot of his body problems started happening. So in 2008, he underwent knee surgery, and he missed the next 2 months on the tour. He did, however, so we're going quickly from a curse to a blessing here. Woods did return for the 2008 U.S. Open, and a lot of you golf fans out there might remember this one. He struggled in the first day, but then he ultimately claimed a dramatic sudden death victory over old Rocco's Mediate life that followed an 18-hole playoff, which I believe, Blake, you and I were looking that up earlier. Did you say that was the last time they employed the 18-hole playoff?
So I think there's a couple of reasons why. Not only did he beat this guy in an 18-hole playoff, but they actually end up tying after 18 holes par and had to play a sudden death hole next. And then he wins by getting par. So in order to win, he had to play a 19-hole playoff against this guy. Played 19 more holes.
It's fucking crazy. And I actually remember watching that. Oh, when it happened, I wasn't a big golf guy. I'm still not a big golf guy right now. I appreciate it. But back then, that was like one of the first times I had ever watched golf. And boy, was that one for me to watch. It jazzed me up. And too bad the rest of the sport just kind of sucks.
I mean, if we're just
anyway.
Yeah, but to your point here, like Tiger transcended golf. Like he made golf cool. He made
absolutely.
I don't think any of us, I can't speak for Hayden or Aaron, but I would like to think that I don't know many of us would watch golf without Tiger doing what he did. Like, I mean, he made golf the cool sport to watch. You haven't seen dominant since him, and even before him, it was a long time before you had someone as dominant as him. And I know for me, like the iconic red Nike shirt on a Sunday, like and Tiger Woods, like that's why I watch golf.
Absolutely.
I'd say he's like the Happy Gilmore of golf.
For sure. Like he's the one joy in golf outside of happy.
I'm aware that was a dumb comment, but
no, you're good.
No,
that was what the joke was.
That was the joke.
Happy Gilmore.
But that's how you know a joke is good, is when you have to explain it to people.
Yes, too. Right. So, if you're not explaining a joke at the end of it, then
are you even a comedian?
Yeah, you're not really joking.
Yeah. You guys get it, right?
Yeah. So one other thing I did want to add, this cool quote by Rocco Mediate afterward, where he said, quote, "This guy does things that are just not normal by any stretch of the imagination. He beat everybody on one leg, basically." So, and yeah, so it was actually Kenny Perry that has said that last part, but Rocco said that, yeah, he's just doing things that aren't normal by any stretch of the imagination. And he's right. So anyway, basically, I think we can now go from there into the main curse of his life, which, a lot of ways was self-inflicted, of course. But in 2009, the National Enquirer, of all places, published a story claiming that Woods had an extramarital affair with this nightclub manager, of which they denied it. And then 2 days later at 2:30 a.m. on November 27th, Woods was driving from his Florida mansion in his Cadillac Escalade. I think everybody knows how that story ended. We don't really have to recap the worst moment of his life. But yeah, we all know the story. Elin and he got a divorce. She got a huge payout. It was a DUI. He hit rock bottom. But
it was just one girl, right?
Do what?
It was just one woman, right?
Wait, which one? Do you mean one?
It was just one woman he cheated on his wife with, right?
Well, not if you look at the accusations. No. I believe it was one of those where he had, what was it, 12 people, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, came out, and
now that's promiscuous.
That is promiscuous. Um, so yeah, immediately he releases a statement on his website, taking sole responsibility for everything, calling it a private matter, asking for privacy. We all know that. Um, so he then said that he would take an indefinite break from professional golf. And at that time, I thought he was done. I don't know what y'all thought, but I basically thought that shit was done right there.
I
Um,
yeah, I
Go ahead.
assume that. I mean, at this point, I think following that tournament when he missed the remainder of the season with injury or something like that. He had to leave golf, and then he goes on to the next year with all of the infidelity allegations into his DUI, into just he's then all the sponsorships go away. So you just think this is the end for Tiger, that he's hit rock bottom.
Right.
The Tiger that we all knew and loved, and that was the face of golf, is now was no longer present.
Yeah. And so, we'll fast forward through that. And then all of a sudden, boom, he comes back. What was it, like 2019? He won the Masters yet again. So boom, back to a blessing. Now, granted, yeah, there was a whole bunch of nothing for about 9 years, but
No, but redemption at its finest, I would say.
Absolutely,
Coming
100%.
back, winning the first tournament he'd ever won in the Masters, putting on that green jacket, which is, I think, the coolest jacket in all of golf. As someone from Georgia, I don't know about y'all, but I watch the Masters. I try to watch it every year almost. It's my favorite golfing event, always around Easter time. And then later, I think it was this past year, he got to play with his son in a duo tournament.
Was awesome. Yes,
and I think they ended up getting second place, and his son was at like 13, was out there beating kids that are in high school.
That part is a true blessing right there. Absolutely.
You know what's the curse part of that? He'd probably get to spend a lot more time with his son if he didn't cheat on his wife.
No, damn it!
Wow!
I was trying to end it in a nice way there.
No, that ain't me.
Fuck that. Okay,
this is Blursed. You're on the wrong podcast for happy ending, folks.
But it could be happy, and that's the point.
Maybe he wins this weekend. We don't
Hopefully,
know.
That's what I was gonna say.
Maybe his son still loves him. So good for you, Tiger.
Blur Sports calling it right here.
Yeah, Tiger, if you win the podcast this weekend, will you join our podcast next week? Well, Hayden won't be around. We won't have him on. You'll host it instead.
I'll just go ahead and DM. I'll have my people talk to his people. And,
we'll have Blur's people reach out to his people.
We'll get him on the pod if he wins St. Andrews. So, but yeah, so that's my Blurst of the week. We went a little bit outside the sports that we had been talking about.
No, but fun.
But also a character everybody knows.
Sports are fun.
Sports are fun.
So, as we're wrapping up this week on this third episode of Blursed, what is some things you would like for the fans to take with you, the listeners take with you this week as we go on?
That Atlanta United still deserves your love, and they still deserve, maybe not deserve. Don't not be a fan, please. I need people to still like soccer in Atlanta. It's been so cool over the past 4 years. I hope this doesn't ruin it.
But were you one of the biggest critics on Twitter right after the game?
Oh yeah, I was.
You got to vent when you can, though.
I had to watch to be critical, though.
You do.
Yes.
That's why I hurt so much.
But yeah. We've all sacrificed a lot of our time watching them do nothing. So I hope that they right the ship soon. But I also hope that doesn't dissuade anyone away from them.
What about you, Hayden?
We got that All-Star game coming up here soon. So Ronnie's
Acuna's going to be?
Against Pujols.
Everybody's
you cannot lose if you're matched up with Albert Pujols in the first round. You cannot lose to 40-year-old man when you're a budding superstar.
Yes.
So hopefully we don't see that. So that'll be fun to watch.
I agree. For me, I would just like to point out that this past weekend, the WNBA All-Star weekend, we had Ryan Howard play in the All-Star game, which was awesome, having an Atlanta Dream player there. I just want to say, though, it was an embarrassment. Those who don't keep up with WNBA, just here's a little bit of information, just maybe get you to help support it. They ended up hosting it at a place in Chicago that couldn't have live fans. So they had a whole All-Star weekend that's meant for fans that no fans could come watch live. The game started at so bad, guys. The game started at 1 p.m. on Sunday. Like, why not a primetime position Sunday night?
Yeah.
You would think it had an ESPN contract. It got moved off ESPN and ESPN2 to ESPNU. Because they had other obligations with junior football or something like that. I don't know. It was some dumb
Junior
excuse.
football.
It was really not a great reason for why. So I think if the NBA wants the WNBA to grow and be legitimized, and also like people like Brittany Griner not have to go across into Russia to make extra money on the side,
right?
They should put a little bit more money into the product that is the WNBA, and let's start, I don't know, pushing for more equal movements here.
Did they book the 4 seasons total landscaping?
Yeah. No,
they took WNBA. Also,
yeah, they took a page right out of Giuliani.
That's one of the craziest moments I've ever seen in my life. I'm not gonna lie.
So that was my look forward. Maybe let's look in the past to do better. So, gentlemen, it's been a good one. I hope that this time next week, Kevin Durant's a Hawk.
Oh boy,
that'd be cool. I'm just putting wishful thinking out there.
Yep. I hope Tigers are St. Andrews champion.
Anyways, we just want to really appreciate all of you for listening today. If you want to check out our music maker, Oh No, check in our link tree. It will be attached to the show notes. We'll also have our links to our social medias. Please follow us, share us to your friends, give us likes, plenty of downloads. And just thank you so much for listening to Blursed.
Absolutely.
Holla.